Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name's Molly, and today I'm going to be reacting to and reviewing Season 2, Episode 2 of The Expanse. Alright, so just to start out with, as I'm sure some of you who are not new to my channel are aware, this is not my usual setup. I am trying this out today because even though my voice has made a pretty good comeback, I'm still not feeling super great, and I really don't feel like getting out of bed at the moment. But I know that everybody's waiting for this episode because it's supposed to be a continuation from episode 1 of this season, and I really don't want to leave everybody hanging, and I don't want to wait myself either. So I'm gonna try something out today. I'm gonna try to film this in this different location just for the time being so I can continue to relax and recuperate while also moving forward with the shows that I'm watching. So, hopefully you will forgive me the bit of the change for this point in time, and if there's any like shaky camera movements or anything along those lines, I would be surprised if we don't have, oh, see, already happening, cats jumping up here to participate and shaking the camera a bit. So I'm sorry if that does happen. Alright, so then before I get back to The Expanse, I just want to say a quick thank you to everybody who's come out to support me on Patreon. If you are interested in doing so, I'll leave a link in the description below. You get certain things like early access to videos, and also extended reactions to certain shows, including The Expanse. Various other rewards are available too, or if you're just interested in helping out the channel, just feel free to check it out. I would appreciate anything that you can give, but if you can't give anything, I still do appreciate you just being here, watching my videos, liking them, subscribing to the channel, so thank you to everybody for doing that as well, and for putting up with this weird sort of experiment for today, anyway. So, I didn't really talk as much as I normally do at the end of my last video, at the end of episode 1, and I do apologize for that. I was a little uncertain as to what everyone would think about my really scratchy voice, though I do appreciate the supportive comments from everybody saying that it's okay, you don't mind too much, so that was reassuring, and thank you. But when I went back and edited it, I feel like I did end up talking more than I had actually anticipated, which is not surprising because I can go on and on and on all the time, as we all know. But a couple of things that I did want to get into a bit more that I just kind of briefly mentioned and glanced over. First being that I'm really interested to see how they progress forward with the new Martian characters and the inclusion of more of the Mars perspective this season. That's something that those of you who've been around since the beginning of this reaction series will know that I have been hoping for and wanting to see for quite some time. I absolutely loved episode 4 of season 1 that focused a lot on Martian characters who then, sadly, were no longer with us. But I've been looking forward to this, so I'm excited to see that going forward, and I thought it was great that at the beginning they right away introduced us to a couple of different Martian characters who have somewhat different perspectives on the relationship between Mars and Earth, and what Mars's role is going to be in this going forward. And playing into that kind of political side of things, I really appreciated the amount of attention that was given to Avasarala and her maneuvering behind the scenes in episode 1. I thought that was a lot of fun to watch. Also tense, of course, but interesting to see how she's playing various people off against one another. You see that there was the attack on her at the very beginning, and that can very clearly be linked back to her being the public face speaking out against Fred Johnson and claiming that he's the one that was responsible for everything that happened, when that's a blatant lie. And I just think it's interesting because she dove into that role, specifically took that upon herself to be the person that is that public face, and she did so to try and make, I guess, her actual motives less obvious and hidden to Ehrenreich so that he wouldn't necessarily be so clearly aware that she's going to be working against him behind the scenes. And you see how she did a really good job of walking that fine line in this episode, with really trying to make him think that she was fully on board with his perspective of things, and then quickly at the end trying to flip it around somewhat, and to kind of call out the things that he and his supporters were saying as not being necessarily accurate, and trying to push them to stand down from the more aggressive, war-provoking point of view, which is what it seems that Aaron Wright and Jules Pierre Mao wanted them to do, was ramp up the aggressiveness and the conflict. And she was really able to do a good job in stopping that, because she put herself in that position where everyone in the room was really willing to listen to what she had to say and trust that she was maybe on their side, but still disagreeing with them, so to speak. So I thought it was really neat to watch that, and interesting to get a sense of her more, and the role that she plays, and how she's gotten into the position that she's in now. So there was that, and then a lot of other big character development, of course, too. We had Naomi and Holden finally getting together. Not a shock. I did see that coming, but good for them. I'm happy for them. I'm happy to see their relationship developing. But I was more interested in some of the other character dynamics that we saw on board the Roci. I was very interested in the Naomi and Miller interactions, not only in what we kind of glean and learn about Naomi's perspective on Amos and their relationship through her conversation with Miller, but also just the idea that these are two people, two Belters, people from the Belt, who have had vastly different past experiences. But also, in some respects, it seems to me, both are Belters who have tried to distance themselves from other Belters in some ways. Miller maybe more obviously and more directly than Naomi, and clearly they've done so for different reasons. You know, Naomi feeling like that maybe she was very actively involved in the OPA struggles for a time, and then she became disillusioned, whereas Miller seems to have been disillusioned much earlier on and taken a very different, more cynical tack than she did overall. But they both were characters who kind of seem to have drifted away from this Belter identity in some respects. And how they seem to maybe also somehow be bonding over that in the aftermath of Eros. So I'm wondering if we'll continue to see going forward the development of both of them viewing themselves more along those lines as Belters, and more playing up that association. And like I said, I know that Naomi wasn't as adamant of pushing that identity away in the same way that Miller seemed to be, but I do see some kind of parallels there between them, though he's just an extreme case. And then, of course, the big conflict being between Miller and Amos. And it kind of played out the way that I had anticipated. As you may remember from the end of my episode 9 and 10 discussion from season 1, I was very concerned about what was going to happen and how Miller was going to take that, because even if he could understand the choice that Amos made, it was my belief that he would still have difficulty accepting it and dealing with it, just because of his personal feelings towards Semi and his loyalty towards him. And that does seem to be kind of what happened, in the sense that Miller didn't seem to necessarily be completely feeling that Amos was wrong. He was standing up for Semi and saying, you know, Semi was right in saying you should leave us behind. But I don't think that he's discounting the idea that if Amos saw Semi pointing a gun at Naomi, that he would feel the urge to protect her, and I don't think that Miller would necessarily have a problem with that. It doesn't seem that he does. More that just that he can't, you know, fully say, all right, well, this was okay, because it was his friend who was killed, and his friend who he felt was maybe not being totally irrational, and his friend who he feels he owed a lot to. And also because he, kind of like maybe I did at the end of season 1, was of the impression that maybe Amos just went too far in his reaction, that maybe there could have been a more nuanced way to go about it. Amos didn't see that as being the case, and he very clearly tried to explain his position to Miller here in this episode, and so basically it played out kind of the way that I thought it was going to. Amos did seem to be trying to restrain himself and being calm and saying, you know, Miller, just stay down. He doesn't want to actually be in this conflict with him. He doesn't want to hurt him. He wanted to just, get things out of the way and try to move past them until Miller keeps pushing him, and then Amos just kind of goes into this other mode where he's looking like he might straight up kill him before Naomi comes in and kind of talks him down and backs him down. And then that leads into the Naomi and Miller conversation about her being kind of like the guiding light or guiding star for Amos, which makes perfect sense for their relationship and their character dynamic, so to speak. But, we did see at the end that Miller's going to come in and try to be friendly and conversationalist with all of them, including Amos, and Amos moves his stuff aside to let Miller sit down to kind of seemingly represent them moving past that conflict happening. So, to me, I was a little surprised that happened as fast as it did. I didn't necessarily think that Miller was going to move on as quickly as he did, and I'm wondering if there will be some sort of, underlying resentment still there or not, whether he's completely gotten past it or not. With Amos, I imagine, I would say that he's past it. He's not going to hold a grudge against Miller for that sort of thing, as long as Miller's no longer seeming like an active threat or a problem to him or the crew. But we'll see what happens with Miller. Maybe it's just the case that his interactions with Naomi, his conversations with Naomi were enough to kind of make him see things differently. Maybe it's partially that, and partially that he wants to keep moving forward with the Roci crew and what they're doing, so he's ready to put that in the past. I don't know. We'll see, but it was interesting, and it was a nice kind of happy way to wrap things up at the end there, so. Alright, so I think that's enough jabbering for me at the beginning of this episode, since I'll surely have plenty to say at the end, too. So, other than that, I'll just say again, thank you to everybody who's come out to support me, and who's been patient and understanding with my sick state of being. If you have any questions or comments for me, please do leave them in the comment section below, and we can keep chatting about things going forward. Again, I might take a little while to get to them because I'm just hesitant to go to the comment section for a few days after watching episode, or really I like to get a couple episodes ahead now because I don't want to get spoiled, but I will eventually get to them, and I know there's lots of other people in the comment section that love to carry on good discussions because this is a really awesome community. Alright, so thank you guys again, and I think we should get started with episode 2. I'm excited about this, alright? So, let's go.
For an invasion.
Admiral Wynn's point is well taken. We must make a strong response.
So is this guy, this Admiral Wynn, is he with Aaron Wright? Like, in a corrupt way, or is he just like a warhawk?
Trade embargo. Now, what we need to do is order the Nathan Hill to take out the Sirocco now.
If we go this way, we're going to be watching each other's ships fall from the sky.
Sir, if I may. The deep radar station on Deimos. It's mostly automated, minimal personnel. Casualties will be light.
You want us to attack a Martian moon? It's a declaration of war.
No, it's a warning. It's a goddamn serious one, but that's the point. It shows that we're willing to strike at the heart of their territory.
Degrade the command and control at the same time. I like it.
A base for a base. I don't know how we can get much more proportional than that.
And she gave him that idea. So this is exactly what I was talking about. She's walking that line.
Sharing the blame does not change what this is.
Okay, Miller in space is pretty hilarious, I have to say.
What story is that? It was this asshole.
I'm the asshole who found your operative. Her name was Juliet Andromeda Mao. In case you're interested, she died alone on Eros, waiting for you OPA chair jockeys to come help her.
What happened in that station?
It wasn't a biohazard emergency. Someone was testing a weapon.
Julie uncovered a plan to unleash this thing on Eros. She tried to stop it. She got infected.
It was something new. A life form. Possibly
Excuse the kitten crying.
Do you think the others
Her and Miller.
know what's going on with us?
Their perspectives now.
Amos, in particular?
Were you scared?
Announcement. Get everyone on the same page.
Bolton scared.
Take out an ad.
No, it's just, I was never clear about how you two, Well, I asked if you were a couple once.
What did he say?
said he'd be okay throwing me into space without my helmet, but that you wouldn't like it.
Sounds like Amos, 16mm. Kind of hard to explain. It's like a brother. You look out for each other.
You sure he's clear on that?
Pretty sure.
Etta took what should be ours, like Anderson does on series. Maybe now. Maybe now. Our time.
Is he gonna kill him? Oh, Fred doesn't fuck around. Jesus.
Eros was a plague. It was a genocide on Belters, done by those that were weak, divided. 1,000 different tribes scattered across the belt, who could never unite and fight back. Well, we're going after those who killed Eros. Tell that to your factions. I need 50 good fighters. Send your best.
He knows what to say. Oh.
Son of a bitch! God!
I ask you to sit this one out. Close quarters battle could be kind of hairy.
What the hell use I ever be out on a ship? Going down the assault team. Have you seen the breaching pod? It's a beer can taped to a rocket. Not gonna like the ride. Fred's trying to land 50 pissed off pelters, 7 different OPA factions on that station. Somebody's got to keep these idiots from shooting each other.
Yeah.
You can sit this one out.
I need somebody professional.
Right then. I'll clean out my cabin. Leave it. We'll be waiting for you when you get back.
Son of a bitch!
Aww.
God damn it!
Okay, maybe it's just me, but I feel like that probably had to mean a lot to Miller, and I don't know if Holden really realizes how much that probably meant.
I'll have
Gin and tonic with a lime. You're not as invisible as you think you are.
one and a quarter for having a drink. Relax. Here, I'll get the ball rolling. I'm a smug old bitch who enjoys playing with life and death on a big chessboard. A snake in a sorry.
With dead eyes and a poisoned tongue. And the solar system is in tatters because of people like you and Aaron Wright. Despite your delusions to the contrary, you, Madame Undersecretary, may be the worst person I have ever met.
Woo!
Feel good. Your system.
I got this from someone who was there, someone I trust. Your predecessors in the previous administration buried it. The Belters who seized control of Anderson Station were trying to negotiate for days. UNN command was jamming their comms. But when the Belters finally gave up, Colonel Johnson wasn't told that they'd surrendered. If he knew, he would have never called that strike in.
Why wasn't he told?
Because the powers that be wanted to send a message to the Belt. Defy us, we wipe you out. Message sent.
And Fred Johnson
Which
switched sides.
explains why he was so
as a
upset.
revenge against Earth.
The UN pinned a medal on his chest for Anderson Station. He was a hero to Earth and despised everywhere else, all based on a lie. But you know what? He never said a word. Didn't even try to clear his name. Just walked away.
So does that make him a hero or a traitor?
I don't know what it makes him. But I know that he's an honorable man who held on to his soul, and that is a tough thing to do in this line of work. Not bad.
Alright, it's interesting.
But I prefer beer. She's buying.
they have a way of doing this on the show of developing characters and giving you background on them when they're not even present. Like they did this with Holden with last season with Avasarala and his mother.
I'm sure I'm going to love it.
I need to send a communique off everybody's radar. No traces back to me. I want to talk to Fred Johnson.
That is treason, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Holding, you copy?
I copy.
So far, so good. The Rocinante is completely hidden in our radar shadow. Your team ready?
This is really happening in the same episode. Like I kind of was expecting this mission to happen in like the next episode, or at least in one episode in between. I don't know. Things are about to get crazy. I was not prepared. I'm not prepared, guys. I'm not prepared.
When you hit the ring, the code will seal to the hole. The station shouldn't vent any air, but keep your helmets on anyway, in case. Try not to puke it.
Question. What's the go signal for the assault?
That will explode and turn into a door. Good hunting.
Stay away from the aqua. Stay away from the aqua. Star Helix, what you doing here?
Ah!
It's a bet.
Oh my god! I knew that kid had to come back at some point since they showed him. Oh my god. I'm excited to see this. Miller was like, oh no.
You gotta do it. We're poking holes in us.
Yeah, but this feels like we're in